Hey folks, today we're going to embark on a challenge. And here is my daily driver phone, or at least what was my daily driver phone, an iPhone 13 Pro Max. And this is a fantastic cell phone, and unfortunately Apple no longer sells it brand new on their website. But if you can find a good deal secondhand or whatever have you through your carrier, it's still a fantastic phone, and I would highly recommend it instead of maybe plunging for a standard iPhone 13 or maybe the iPhone 14 Plus, which is soon to go on sale to the masses. But, well, it's going to get replaced by something for a week, and that is... Wait, what? So to get the obvious answer out of the way, yes, this will be the challenge, using an iPhone 7 Plus for a week. Now, to give a little bit of background on this and how it got started, so fellow YouTuber Matt's Tech was actually wanting to send this phone to me because of a couple of reasons. Number one, he wouldn't have a use for it anymore because he now films on an iPhone XR, but he also was interested in one of my 2016 iPhone SEs, you know, the ones that look like a 5S, but they have the same chip as the iPhone 6S, you know, that sort of thing. And he was really wanting one of those, but he didn't really want to buy one off eBay because they were kind of a little overpriced. And so I kind of came up with this deal with him saying, hey, you know, I'll send you one of my 2016 SEs if you just want to like send me your 7 Plus or something. You know, it's probably an unequal trade, but I made it up to him and making it sort of funny. So he didn't film it, but he did show it to me. It was kind of funny. So anyways, now I have his iPhone 7 Plus here, which he used to use as his, or one of his daily cameras for his YouTube videos, as well as his daily driver cell phone. And now he has one of my 2016 iPhone SEs. So we're both pretty happy with these devices. And so, yeah, I don't know what he's going to do with his SE. I think he said he was going to do something similar. He was going to try to use it for a week. You might check in on his YouTube channel, which I will have a link to down below in the description of this one. See if I can get this angling right. I mean, let's go wait for that car to leave. So might be here a little while because, yeah, filming outside is so much fun, but what else are you going to do, right? Now forgive me for this next segment. There's going to be some background noise, which you probably have already been hearing from the air conditioner, but also, of course, we're in a neighborhood where there's a lot of people who drive around, some sporadic, some not, so I apologize. Anyways, so you might be wondering to yourself, well, why are you using an iPhone 7 Plus for a week? Well, there's multiple different reasons, not the least of which is, of course, personal curiosity about how well the iPhone 7 series, specifically the 7 Plus, has aged over its lifetime. Now, of course, this is being dropped from mainstream iOS support coming tomorrow, because the first day I'm filming this is, of course, the 11th of September. iOS 16 comes out tomorrow, and this phone is not getting it. It'll probably get, I think, iOS 15.7. I think that was a rumored release, and that's probably going to be mainly for security and stability for these phones as they continue to go into the extended security update phase of their life cycle, including the 6S series, including the 6S Plus and the standard 6S, as well as the 2016 SE. But the 7 Plus is one of those that falls under that branch. And it'd be kind of curious to see how well this phone has aged. Now, I never really daily drove a 7 Plus. I've daily driven a 7 before, and that was after I had gotten kind of like a side grade from my iPhone 6S that I used as my daily driver for 2.5 years back between, I think it was 2016, like late 2016, into early 2019 when I got my mom's iPhone 7 as a bit of a side grade to switch carriers and used my 6S as a trade-in to help her get a new phone. And so I got her old phone, and I used that up until October 2019 when I upgraded to an iPhone 11 when those shortly after came out onto the market. And then, of course, I used an iPhone 11 for 2 years until I got my 13 Pro Max on pre-order, and soon to be an iPhone 14 Pro Max because I have that on pre-order. But the 13 Pro Max is getting traded in, so I'm trying to save wear and tear on that phone before I trade it in so I can get maximum trade-in value. So that leaves me with, well, my 13 mini, which I'm filming with right now. But I mean, it's got a different number on it, so I don't want to associate it with my daily driver number and screw things up on the carrier side. So I figure I'm just going to use this for filming, if I even use it for filming at all, because I could probably just use the 7 Plus for filming for some segments, and I think that would probably be fair. So yeah, and then this idea came up when Matt, he wanted to send me this phone, and he wanted a 2016 SE from me. So that was the long story short of it. And so again, I have no idea what he's doing with that SE I sent him, but I have his 7 Plus, and I'm using that as my daily driver for 1 week starting as of right now, because I am very good at filming and I'm very good at timing. So Anyways, so it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon for me, and I've been using the 7 Plus thus far as my daily driver cell phone, and I can pretty much tell you it's been perfectly adequate. It's not nearly as fast as my 13 Pro Max. I'm going to get that out of the way right now. It is definitely not. But the transition between my 13 Pro Max and the 7 Plus was actually fairly smooth. This is a 128 gig 7 Plus. My 13 Pro Max is, of course, 256 gigs, but I wasn't using half the storage on that phone, so I was able to transfer the backup over no problem. And also my Apple Watch Series 7 transferred over no problem because I'm not running watchOS 9, which, of course, I don't think iOS 15 is going to get support for. I mean, I could be wrong, but I do not believe it's going to. So it's pretty much going to be stuck on watchOS 8 until I get my iPhone 14 Pro Max, which is honestly totally fine. I don't need these updates day one. And so iOS 15.6.1 and probably soon iOS 15.7 in the case of the 7 Plus and the 6S is going to be perfectly fine for me. I'm waiting for my banking app to get updated for iOS 16 anyways. It's kind of broken and it doesn't fully work, but it does work well enough, but I digress. So anyways, so here we go. Let's see how the 7 Plus ages, I guess. I'm probably going to do more of the filming on this because of the fact I don't want to tease myself too much with a 13 mini, but I'll bring it along with me just in case, because again, it has a separate phone number, and so I have to keep this on me, and it'll probably do a lot better filming than the 7 Plus does. But I mean, hey, if it's the only phone I've got on me, which is more than likely going to be the case when I'm at work, then this will have to do, and that'll be totally fine. So yeah, I'll just ramble on a little bit more here because, well, I said this was my first day, and I'm horrible at timing this because I meant to do this sooner, but I didn't even think about it. So yeah, we're technically in the middle of day one as I'm filming this. And I have to say, thus far, again, other than being a little bit slower than my 13 Pro Max, which is kind of obvious. I mean, this is a A10 Fusion-powered phone. I almost forgot what the name of the SoC was. But yeah, this has the A10 Fusion and 3 gigabytes of RAM as compared to the standard 7, which has the same chip, but only 2 gigabytes of RAM. But not like the RAM really makes that big of a difference, at least in the grand scheme of things. And as I mentioned, this is a 128 gig in product red, so one of my favorite color schemes aside from having the white front, but I mean, never mind that. So it's pulled off the charger about noon-ish or so because I had to go mow the grass. So I used this with some Bluetooth headphones to listen to music as I was mowing the grass. I did a little bit of other texting and such on this phone, and as of right now anyway, we're still at just under 90% battery usage. It was at 90% when I was filming over there, and I was hoping I was going to get it on camera, but alas, I did not. But this thing has all the apps from my 13 Pro Max perfectly working as they should and fully supported, including the Apple Watch, as I mentioned earlier, including all of my activity records. Those synced over just fine. And so it's actually just been a different iOS experience just because of the form factor being the old classic home button and not the swipe gestures. But otherwise, it feels identical, just a little bit slower, maybe not nearly as good a battery life. And you know what? That's actually a good thing. That's how flexible, that's how consistent these iOS experiences are. And honestly, I mean, I know a lot of people will talk crap about it, but that's really one of the reasons why I've stuck with iPhone primarily, is because it's a consistent experience and I don't have to keep fidgeting everything around. It just works. Trademark. Anyways, I'm not going to bore you anymore with that crap because, I mean, who cares? But it's been pretty good, and I honestly don't have a lot of bad things to say thus far. I mean, obviously I still don't have a headphone jack, but besides that, yeah, I mean, what more do you want, really? I'm not going to unlock it because I got personal data that I don't want to show on this, but maybe here after a little while I'll do some more filming. I'm actually considering going out on a walk, so maybe I'll use this phone, the 7 Plus, for filming, and I'll kind of record my experiences from that using the Apple Watch Series 7, of course, to do my workouts, and I'll leave the 13 mini that I'm filming with right now at home as I'm doing that. And I also apologize in advance if you haven't noticed the length of the video. It's a very long video, so I apologize. I tend to ramble quite a bit, but hopefully there's some useful information in there. And yeah, I'll be kind of interested to see how well the iPhone 14 does, because I'm going to have an eSIM instead of a physical SIM. And of course, I'm going to have the dynamic island. I'm going to have the A16 Bionic chip. I'm going to have a much higher resolution main sensor compared to even my 13 mini, which I'm filming with here, or even the Pro Max. And it's just going to be quite an interesting phone. I don't really need the 14 Pro Max. I would have been perfectly fine with a 13 Pro Max, but I'm taking advantage of some ridiculous trade-in offer at my carrier, and so it's a no-brainer for me to go ahead and do it because I'm pretty much getting the phone for like $200, which is honestly a steal of a deal. So assuming everything goes well, that should be nice. And I will be able to justify that purchase because I use that phone for filming. So if it only cost me $200 in 1 year to film with that phone, which is easily going to be made back, then I say it's a win-win because I do use it for filming, obviously. So yeah, I'll probably pick up the camera here after a little while. Like I said, I'm probably going to go for a walk. I'm going to get some more video editing done in the meantime. Wait for the weather to potentially cool down because we're having some nice, wonderful smoke as a result of some weather, and it's making the air quality really putrid and ugh. So I'm not going to go walking right now, but yeah, maybe here after a little bit, I'll consider doing that. So it was just after 5 o'clock. I went on my walk. I was listening to music through Spotify, which was working just fine. And I was able to download music to listen to locally offline. So yeah, not a problem at all. It was working pretty well. One thing I will say, though, is that the screen on the 7 Plus is not nearly as bright as the OLED iPhones that I was using and was accustomed to, so whoops. But not a big deal. Even at full brightness, I could still see it reasonably well. Alright, so right now I'm filming off of the iPhone 7 Plus. I have no idea if the audio is going through my earbuds or not, but speaking of my earbuds, just a slight issue. It's not related to the phone at all, but I had some weirdness with connecting it to the app that they use because, well, for some reason it just can't detect the earbuds properly. I've had that issue with my 13 Pro Max as well, the 7 Plus, so what can you do, right? Also, yeah, there's a discrepancy with the front camera resolution. As you can tell, it's probably not the same, so still looks okay. I mean, the lens is kind of getting blocked by the sun there, but that's not really an issue of the phone because that's just Mother Nature. And yeah, I wasn't joking when I said that it was kind of smoky and toxic outside. It was pretty nasty, but hey, that was fine. And I also was able to get Apple Pay working, so as you can see, I had one of those like flavored water drinks or something that I was able to drink on my way back home on my walk. So yeah, Apple Pay was working just fine. And just like that, it's now time for day 2. So here we are in the car, getting ready to go to work, and that's an interesting amount of condensation that formed on the car overnight. Very interesting. Changing seasons, I guess. Anyways, so this is the usual drive to work, listening to the Freeburn Hot Wings show on the radio, so...
It is time for You Can't Win, the most maddening trivia game on the radio, because you can't win it. I've got 5 trivia questions.
Once I got into the city, it was time to get breakfast, so I just went to McDonald's, and the app did work, albeit it was really slow for some reason, but it does work, and I was able to get to Apple Pay by sliding down to get to the cover sheet, as Apple dubs it, and double-click the home button to get access to Apple Pay. So, yeah, went up to the drive-thru, did my order, and Apple Pay worked a treat.
Oh, you some mocha?
Yep, that was me.
Today?
Alright, I'm doing Apple Pay.
Yeah, you can have it. Okay, and another here at the next window, please.
Thanks. So now I have my coffee for the morning, and I was able to go into the office without being a complete zombie, which is pretty nice. And as if on cue, iOS 15.7 did release for the phone, so I did spend a little bit of time that morning getting the update installed. It did eat through a little bit of my battery, but I was able to have enough to get through the rest of the day, at least it seemed like at the time, which it for the most part did. So fast forward to lunch, and I was able to use the Wendy's app, which again was kind of a little slow. It was actually worse than the McDonald's app, surprisingly so, but you know, it worked just fine. I was able to order food, and I was able to get it for my lunch break using Apple Pay once again, which was working. So that was not too bad. So I had my lunch, and then, yeah, I had another thing to go attend to, so I needed to use navigation. So let's see how that worked out. Hey, take me to Target.
Getting directions to Target.
Yep, so it was turn-by-turn directions time, so I had to go meet someone for Facebook Marketplace reasons, so I wanted to see how well the phone did with turn-by-turn navigations, and it did pretty well.
At the next light, turn left. In 1.5 miles, turn left.
So what I ended up with was this really cool Sony Vaio laptop from the year 2000. I managed to pick this thing up. Unfortunately, no power supply, but I have pretty good faith that this thing works, so maybe in the future I might do something with this if I can get it to actually come alive. I'm not sure yet. Alright, it's the end of day 2. Kind of struggled with the battery, but not too bad for 84% health. Apologize for the air conditioner noise. But yeah, it did okay. We did make it through, and I'm going to plug this into the car once I obviously get on the road here. I'm about ready to leave the city. I just hung out with an old classmate. We were just sitting there chatting at a Starbucks, so Yeah, not too bad for day 2. We're going strong, so here's the day 3, really, I guess. I mean, nothing really too much to complain about. I mean, the phone's a little on the sluggish side in some areas, but it could be a heck of a lot worse. It's definitely not unusable in a sense, but it definitely, despite what the extra RAM would make you think and believe, it's definitely no faster in some areas than a 6S, and it's painfully obvious when you turn low power mode on. So I left it off throughout the day because I want to obviously push this phone to the limits to see if it's still capable of being daily driver territory. For lightweight tasks, it absolutely still excels at that. As long as you're patient with it, it absolutely still does a really good job. But yeah, it's definitely getting a little long in the tooth from what I can feel and what I'm used to compared to my iPhone 13 Pro Max. And I'm not the biggest fan of Touch ID. Like, my left thumb works with it, but my right thumb just absolutely hates the Touch ID sensor. I cannot get it to register and work. So I'm having to double hand my stupid phone to get it to work, whereas before I could just look at it and I'm in. So definitely used to that level of convenience that I just don't have here. But I mean, I'm just nitpicking really, because I mean, it's not an issue. If you can utilize Touch ID to its advantage, then more power to you, but I can't, and so it just kind of bugs the crap out of me. But yeah, other than what I mentioned, I mean, heck, we're still going strong, so we're going on for day 3, so let's full send it. Music played just fine in the car, and I was able to partake in a quick Discord voice chat on the way home.
Hey. It costs you $25.95 to be in this voice chat.
Oh, okay, sounds good. And yeah, that pretty much wraps up day 2 for me. It is now day 3, and I didn't do too much filming today, to be honest with you. I was pretty busy at work, so I didn't get too many opportunities to film much. Not that there was anything really special to film anyway. But I walked in with a full charge, ready to start the day, and yeah, I did a little bit of usage throughout the morning, not to a crazy extent, but by the time lunchtime came around, about 12:20, as you can see here, it's at 71%, so I did all right on the battery life. It seems like 15.7 was doing a pretty decent job of managing that. So I had to use the physical Apple Card this time around to get my lunch, which means no Apple Pay, but that's okay. And I just watched YouTube on the 7 Plus while I ate my food.
This is the new 2022 Audi Q4 e-tron. It's Audi's latest fully electric luxury cross.
Then fast forward to the end of the day. It's now about 5 o'clock, and I am ending the day at 38% battery, which is actually pretty good considering my usage, although again, it wasn't too crazy, but I had a little bit here and there. As I made a stop for gas, which I usually do on my way home, I went inside, got me a couple snacks for the drive home, so I got myself a coffee and I got myself a little candy bar to have on the way home, which I did use Apple Pay for, and that actually worked quite well. So it's day 4, and it's office moving time by pure coincidence, so I had to drive the truck today because I wanted to help out with moving stuff around, which meant I got to leave a little bit later. And with that, I went to go and get some breakfast at McDonald's again here in town, but yeah, that didn't quite go to plan because they didn't have coffee. Friggin' no coffee at the McDonald's. What's up with that? Or at least mochas. Whatever. It's just like straight pushing it on this water. What the f? It's not even like coffee at all, it's just like hot water. What the hell is up with these things this morning? I swear, sometimes being in a small town is nice, but this is not one of those days. What the hell? So once the coffee fiasco was done, I was able to get back on the road. Later realized that the people at McDonald's in our town gave me the wrong breakfast sandwich because that's what they always seemingly do. So yeah, I only had a hash brown, which is annoying. So I just, drove to work in frustration because I hate our McDonald's in town. They're idiots and they suck. So hopefully somebody watches that and figures that part out. Anyways, I'm done ranting. So here's some montage from the 7 Plus as I drove to work. All right, off to work I go. And Big Blue, gonna need an extra pickup truck at work to move stuff, I figure. And if not, well, it was a thought that counts anyway. I'm gonna drive the truck regardless. So off I go, and I gotta apparently stop fogging up the window here. As I can see all the spots where the glass cleaner was. The old glass cleaner, anyway. Oh, the joys of an old truck.
gas. You can also earn up to 30% cash back at grocery stores, restaurants, and with takeout too.
You can cash out anytime to your bank account or get an e-gift card for select retailers and brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code FREEBEER to get 25 cents per gallon or more cash back on your first tank. That's promo code FREEBEER. Do it now. Code FREEBEER.
Dumber than the show trivia next. It is the Free Beeronomics Show.
So yeah, before too long I was in the city and I just made a stop at Safeway so I could get some energy drinks to take with me to drink while I was moving stuff around. I didn't film much of the moving part because obvious reasons, but I did get a little bit here of the old office as we were dismantling it. And yeah, my truck definitely did come in handy. I was able to back-to-back a couple of desks, as you can see here in this picture, and we were able to stack a bunch of crap around it, which was pretty nice. And yeah, the move was pretty damning on my knees, and it was a lot of work going up and down the stairs, but I was able to fill the exercise ring on my Apple Watch 2.5 times, which was quite insane, so I got a new record on that. And yeah, sooner or later it was lunchtime, and we decided to take a break. That's where my phone was at battery-wise. And we went to a local sushi restaurant, although I didn't have sushi myself personally because I don't like it, but I did get some chicken and rice, which was pretty solid. It was pretty good. While we were there was an interesting cart that was animated. Like, that was kind of weird. I actually didn't mind the cart. I just thought it was kind of funny. But yeah, then after that, we went back for round 2, and we got some more stuff loaded up into a couple of the trucks. My truck was excluded for obvious reasons, but I mean, that's totally fine. But then, yeah, we were able to get everything else moved into the office, at least physically that day. It was definitely a lot of work. I'm not even going to exaggerate that. We were busy the whole day, and we got a lot of stuff moved into the new office space. We just moved it. We wouldn't actually assemble anything until the next day. So, yeah, it was a lot of work. But we definitely do have a lot more space in this office complex. But I'll explain more about that in a future video. Anyways, so the day was over, and I didn't do too much filming after that. I was really freaking tired, so I wanted to get home. And so, yeah, no sense, obviously filming any more than that. And here's the last day, day 5. I barely filmed, but I had to swap the SIM card back from the 7 Plus back to the 13 Pro Max as I had an incoming pending trade-in for the iPhone 14 Pro Max I ordered, so I had to do that. But I did use the 7 Plus throughout the remainder of the day on Wi-Fi and hotspot where necessary, which for the most part was on Wi-Fi, so it was totally fine. But yeah, I was busy setting stuff up, setting up shelving, and so I had no time to film at all. But yeah, later in the day I was home. I got my iPhone 14 Pro Max, and so I was able to do my trade-in, although, ironically, of course, it requires iOS 16 to do your phone number swap to an eSIM, so I didn't know that, so I got stuck in the store for longer than I really wanted to, but hey, at the end of the day, I got it activated, and I was able to get the eSIM stuff working, and I was walking out with a 14 Pro Max, and my 13 Pro Max has been traded in, and that's pretty much the end of the 7 Plus for a week saga. Alright, so let's get this video wrapped up here on the 7 Plus, and I'm recording on the 14 Pro Max, so hopefully the video looks even better than it did on the 13 Pro Max. And I also apologize, my face has some acne on it, so hopefully it's not too distracting. I don't know why that is, but I digress anyways. So, how has this fared in comparison for like 5 days, at least? Well, it did pretty adequately, I would say. It actually got me through, and I have really no major complaints to speak of, but I am going to be a little bit critical here. And this might just be partial because of my unit, because of the 84% battery health. But honestly, I think it was a good move by Apple to cut this on iOS 15. And I know it's probably going to be an unpopular opinion. I think it probably should have gotten iOS 16 too. I see no reason why it wouldn't have been able to get the update. But, if you look at it with the iPads in comparison, which is a completely different device, I know. But hear me out. So I think the reason why the iPad 5th gen and the 1st gen iPad Pros, they all got iPadOS 16 was because the amount of changes made to the operating system underlying it is very minimal. And so I think what they're doing is, because there's not the same feature set as iOS 16, at least to the point where an iPad 5th gen with an A9 chip, the same as the iPhone 6S, the same RAM, can run that OS, is probably because, well, it doesn't share the same things, and the iPhone 6S, even though it would have gotten iOS 16 in theory, might have struggled. And I think Apple is just trying to cover themselves from another sort of situation, like what happened with the iPhone 4S on iOS 9, a pretty legendary moment in software updating history because it killed the phone. Like, it just, practically speaking, killed the phone from being useful. And I think Apple's probably just trying to play it safe, maybe even overly safe, with the 7 Plus and its A10 Fusion chip. And even though the iPads have the A10X with their iPad Pro lineup, this, the 10.5 inch and the second generation 12.9 inch, and I believe the iPad 6th and 7th gen also share the A10 Fusion chip. I just think that maybe iOS has a heavier load, and or they just don't want to keep too many products supported in their lineup. And this was an obvious thing from this year. Anything from 2017 is still supported, but anything before 2017 got cut. And this is included because this phone came out in 2016. So I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think that was just by pure coincidence. But I also wonder if it's, again, because iPadOS doesn't have very many changes and they just felt, okay, it can run it anyway. And it's a very strange decision on Apple's part, but I also remember they don't have an A11 powered iPad, as far as I'm aware. I think when they went from the, the iPad, I think it was the 7th gen to the 8th gen, they just jumped over the A11 chip entirely and they went straight to the A12. And the A11 never touched an iPad ever. And I don't know if that's got anything to do with, the fact they didn't have a neural engine, or if there was something else behind the scenes, maybe it was supply chain related. And maybe Apple just wanted to get rid of the old chip because maybe yields were whatever. I have no idea. But what I can say is that I think it was probably a smart move, once again, without any kind of major logical reasoning, that this probably stayed on here. Some apps just felt slow, and not in a pleasant way. Like some food apps, some of my social apps, they were fine, they were usable, but it just kind of lagged behind. It just didn't feel right. They were slow to respond to touch. It was just, ugh. There's not too many words that I can use to describe the kind of performance that I was experiencing with some apps. Other apps, like messaging apps, like Facebook Messenger, maybe even Discord to a loose extent, they're fine. They're totally fine. They're perfectly usable. In fact, I was actually doing voice chats and video chats on this phone with absolutely no problems, and it was perfectly usable. And so I think it's just a matter of optimization. Maybe just some people don't optimize the apps the same way as they would for other phones. And that's unfortunate, but that's just the reality of it. This is a nearly 6-year-old, if not already a 6-year-old phone. And so it's just waking up and smelling the roses. It's just an old phone. It's just how it is. So, I mean, that's a weird comparison to make, but hopefully that makes some kind of sense. So I think going forward for any 7 Plus users, you should be fine for the next year. I see no reason why you would need to immediately upgrade your phone if it's working well for you. If you're still getting through the day with battery life, if you're still fine with the camera quality, if you're still fine with the user experience, if it still makes phone calls and text messages to your friends and family and colleagues and likewise, it should be fine. The only major reason why I would see that you need to upgrade is because your phone is physically damaged, like bad, or the battery life is not up to your standards anymore, even with a fresh battery, like you need better battery life. Or maybe you're just not satisfied with the cameras no more. Maybe you like the quality of the newer phones and you want to jump in on that bandwagon, which I can totally, I would totally believe you on that, because heck, I get used out of the cameras all the time too. And these are still all right for when you have good lighting. Not saying that low lighting was bad on these 7s, because they got the f1.8 aperture cameras at the time compared to the f2.2 on the 6S, which was already a big improvement. And the telephoto just helped make it even better on the Plus model. So I can believe that. I can believe wanting a better camera even still, though. But I would feel that I think it was the right call for them to kill it on 15.7 and not give this phone 16. Because I've also been using the 8 Plus on iOS 16, and it's fine. It's tolerable, but not amazing. You could definitely probably fix the performance on that Apple, at least in my opinion. So I would probably say it's doable again, maybe next year. You could totally do that. There's going to be some security updates coming down the road for these, and so I imagine no major feature updates, but yeah, it's totally fine. I don't see any reason why you couldn't use it going into 2023 either, as long as carriers still support the phone, so it should be totally fine. At least I think it'd be totally fine. Same thing with the 6S. So are you still using an iPhone 7 Plus, 6S or 6S Plus, or maybe even a 2016 SE? Or if you're one of those people who still uses an iPod Touch 7th generation, what do you think? Is it still usable to you? Let me know down below in the comments section. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. But with that, I'm going to get out of here. So hopefully you liked what you saw. And if you did, well then, you know what to press. And it might encourage me to do something like that in the future, although eSIM notwithstanding, that's going to be an interesting transitional period. But I digress. Yeah, if you didn't like the video, well, then you also know what to press. Get subscribed down below because I do upload rather infrequently. And with that, I'm going to get out of here. So thank you all for watching. And hopefully we'll see you all in the next one.